Welcome to the A New Narrative podcast, where we discuss all things health and human design. I'm Sam Zagar, your projector guide and host. This is a show about deconditioning. My goal is to confront our conditioned, not self narratives so that we can write them anew through the lens of our true selves. It's through this process that I hope to guide you to your signature life. All right, welcome back. You have a very special guest today. You're going to really like her voice. Her name is Jennifer Warren, and if you want to hear more of her voice, I suggest you go find her on YouTube after this. Jennifer, welcome. It's good to have you.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here. So excited.
You are a 5-2 Ego Manifestor. I've never had an Ego Manifestor on before. Y'all are a very, very rare breed, so I'm pretty excited to have people experience your definition.
Oh, okay. I'll do my best.
So we were warming up a little bit with I like to get the ball rolling privately with us for a little while. But we were talking about where you live and manifestor, it's either anger or peace. And I asked if where you lived was a peaceful place. And you said no. And because of that, there have been certain health things that have come up. And I'm curious, what's the thing that makes you know you have to initiate change? Like as a manifestor, when you have to initiate something, when it's time for it, what does that feel like?
Well, I know when I don't initiate the change, and I know I need to initiate the change, I get angry. My body gets angry. It's
like,
not
does
even...
it get red, or does it get what do you mean it gets angry?
It hurts. My body physically hurts.
Like inflammation?
Achy pains. Yeah, achy. And I just... It's angry. I used to say, even before getting into human design, I used to say, because I used to feel like I was depressed. I'm depressed, and nothing's working, and then I realized, because my body was hurting so much, and it's been like this for years, so I realized that my body's depressed. And I think that my body being depressed is the way my manifestor anger, when I can't make the change, but really want to make the change, need to make the change, and just doesn't happen. So it all gets shoved down into my body. The urges, they've been repressed all the time.
I'm wondering if being a second line body has where this comes into it. Do you need to be called out for certain things about your own body? Like, do you need to be given calls to bring things to your attention? Or is it more of part of me wants to ask, who's in your space with you? Who do you hermit with? Is there harmony with those people? And then of course I'm looking at environment, and you're a mountains person. So then I'm, how high up are you? What are the other things I can play with and manipulate to see if they change how your body feels?
Well, up until about 4 years ago, so I wasn't living by myself. My daughter was still living with me, and then she moved out to live with her boyfriend, now her husband. So I've pretty much been on my own for, I don't know, I think about 4 years now, and it's been really good for me. I
You like it?
like alone. Yeah, I really like being alone, which of course doesn't make me very accessible when it comes to getting to know anybody. But so you asked me about having harmony in my environment with people. Very, very few people in my life that come into my home, and of course I work from my home. I teach, and I also have my cosmetics clinic. So those are the people that come into my home, and most of the time there's a lot of harmony with them, but it's periodic. They come, they go, they come, they go, but there's nobody here with me all the time. And yes, you wanted to ask.
I do want to ask you something, and I never ever know how to word this because I always feel like I have to advance apologize to Maven anytime I bring this conversation up because I'm like, I love you, I'm happy I have you, I'd never give you back. Also, I really want to talk to other people about how hard it is to be a parent. And when you're
It
like,
is.
she moved out and I'm alone, and I'm just like, yeah, I love being alone, but I love babies. I don't even, and I like kids. I don't care for teenagers or adults that much. Um, I want another baby, but I don't want another baby. You know what I mean? Like, I love the idea of having kids, but I don't really. Well, I think of what I'm trying to say is like, am I really that upset if I don't have more of them? Like, is that alone time actually so much not better, but like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, it's kind of like, I love my kid. Man, I love being alone.
I didn't realize how much I loved being alone until my daughter left. And I didn't, and until I came into human design, I couldn't, I was so conditioned by this. Well, I haven't been in human design for too long, so I'll back it up. I heard about human design 5 years ago, but I've been in and out with the information and trying to sift through it and comprehend it and embody it. So I think my daughter left a year after I'd found out about human design, and there were a lot of things in my first couple of readings that really clicked with me. And I understood that it was okay for me to not be in a conventional relationship, or for that matter, be in a relationship at all, until I'd done the work um, myself, understanding me and loving myself. I mean, Ra even says that, I'm in the business of teaching people how to love themselves. That's a real hard one to do.
It's really hard.
So
People don't like it.
people don't like it. And exactly. And it's all that conditioning around it. So I'm like, no, no, I'm not ready for this having any kind of relationship. Um, unless I know how I can be in that relationship as myself. So,
Yeah.
and so with my daughter, I spent all of these years prior, and then when my daughter left, it was really when I could focus on me and understanding what does it mean to be a manifester? What is this 5-2 profile, which I kind of like freaked out about in the beginning when I found out about it. And I was like, oh God, I don't want people projecting on me all the time, and just go away, leave me alone.
Mm.
And all your expectations, and then also realizing, yeah, but I project on the people too with the 5. And where have I done that? And how has that caused me to push people away? And so I really love this time that I have by myself, and also being on the mountain, passive. So I'm not out there hiking around with people. I'm just like, I'll just sit here and take a look and take it all in, and exactly what a mountains person does, passive, like just sitting there. And you described it very well the other day in class, where you said, yeah, well, and you pushed yourself away on your chair because you have the wheels on your chair, and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna like go out back here and close my eyes and just, that was the inner cognition of the mountains. And that really, really struck me. And so about having kids, because you brought that into like, having more kids, not having more kids. So I realized by the time I was in my very early 40s, I figured, it's not gonna probably happen. And I'm not having any luck with good relationships. And somewhere along the line, I was like, okay, I'm happy. I've got my one kid. It was a lot for me on my own from the time she was 4 years old. That's when we divorced. So I was pretty much with her on my own. I mean, her father was there. He would see her twice a week, blah, 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 that whatever the court had said was possible. I mean, I was all right. I was like, yeah, you can take her more if you want. I need to
Yeah.
rest. But
Yeah.
but that didn't happen. I mean, he was also out on finding his own way and his own path, and remarried and had his other kids and blah blah. But yeah, so I'm okay with just having had one. And I today understand But physically, that was the right thing for me. Couldn't have done more than that.
There's definitely like my perspective has changed a lot on my life experiences the more I've gone through human design, because there are certain things that when they're happening, they feel terrible or bad, or you're afraid of them, or you don't want them or whatever, but then afterwards you realize it's a blessing in its own way. And when I divorced Maven's dad, the only thing that made me possibly not divorce him is I don't want to lose access to my son, because I was a stay-at-home mom up until I decided to get divorced. And it was like, I got to get a job, I got to go. And when I started working, not only was it split custody with my ex, but Maven was in daycare. And it like I would cry all the time at work because I didn't want to be working and I didn't want someone else to raise my kid. And I went from having him all day every day to having him like a couple hours a day some days, and that just felt so fucked up to be so. But also, like, most parents go to work, most kids have to, like, it's not a actually sad situation or anything. It just, for me, it felt like a breakup, it felt like heartbreak, it felt like a huge loss. But the longer it went on, part of what I had to realize, and this is a little bit egoic, narcissistic on my part, I thought my kid would really struggle without me. I felt bad for him without his mommy. Turns out he's just fine. Turns out his father can take care of him. Turns out he does all the same things over there. Turns out. And so when I could relax that he was still being cared for and he wasn't upset about the situation that much, then I could relax about it and actually start to enjoy it. And I love split custody. I absolutely love sharing custody. And that part, like, that's kind of what tells me, like, well, if you have another kid, you're not splitting custody, you're still with that dude. Like, that's going to be a very intense situation. I don't know if I'm want that. And then another thing crosses my mind where I'm like, girl, you're 35, you're considered a geriatric pregnancy at this point. I'm like, no way. I'm pretty sure I'm still 18 in my brain. So
Really? That's what they say, geriatric pet pregnancy in
it's
Canada? That's legal?
35, I'm pretty sure. And I was like, that's insane. But also
No.
not really, because when I started having kids, I said I wanted to be done by the time I was 30, not starting, like, I have a 10-year-old, it's we're at the end of the tunnel. Do we really want to hit reset?
Yeah, yeah, that's something
And no
that,
choice. I
and
didn't
no
choose
choice.
how my last pregnancies ended up, so no
How
choice.
many times I could have gotten pregnant after I divorced my daughter's husband, my daughter's father. Yeah, after I divorced my husband, and and a few relationships that I had, and I was like, yeah, all right, can't hurt to try and get pregnant, So I wasn't careful. Never got pregnant.
It's just not in the cards. Which is,
Yeah,
I mean, that's kind of like the nice thing. I'm like, if I never end up with another one, I'm probably not supposed to, right? Like, life's feeling pretty good right now. Do I really want to throw a wrench into it? Probably not. The weird thing with me is I'm like, girl, you're just tribal. Like, you just can't turn your genetics off. That's the only thing. Like, don't let them take over, I have a little bit of that human design stuff too. And also, like, do I want to have a rave baby? Can I have a rave baby? Do I want to be done having babies before rave babies?
right, right. You don't know what's in store for you.
By the time rave babies could come, I'll definitely be geriatrics.
Well, but then I'll be dead.
Like 2 years, you're spring chicken still. Like,
No, like you think about it. Rape babies will start coming into the world in 2027, right?
hmm
So by the time, well, I don't know, you're right. Actually, maybe a couple years after that, we'll know how many are being born and are truly rave and
but will we even know that they're raves when they're born? Who's going to be the first one to accurately identify a rave?
well, didn't Ross say something? I was listening to one of his recordings. I think it was the one with the receptive mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was one of the receptive minds where he said that they would all be like farmed out and
Yes,
one.
institutionalized.
Yeah, God, when he said that, I was like, oh my God.
That's one of those things that sounds negative, but it's not. It has to
It's supposed to
happen
come
because
together.
they got to get
Right,
grouped.
Yeah, I got to get grouped to be able to connect to the higher consciousness. Yeah. But so it's probably something that probably sooner than later we're going to know about.
Well, and the interesting thing, like Ross says that autism is it's basically the first step in the mutation towards the rave. It's our way of we're bringing rave qualities out, but they're still in the human body. So what I just call it advanced software and outdated hardware. I think that's the nicest way to explain it. And there's a mutation that hasn't quite locked into the right body yet because it's not a rave body yet. And he says mutation takes so long. It takes generations and generations. It takes hundreds of years, not just like, oh, there they are, like I birthed the new one there. So the is it a prologue that comes first? It's kind of like the prologue of the rave is autism now. And we still don't quite know like what to call things or where it comes from or what. So I don't know if the first raves are going to be considered. I don't know if we're going to know about them.
I'm going to recommend to you, and this is something that I got on the Telegram group with.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm going to recommend to you because we're talking about these rave babies and autism. And there's this podcast on Spotify. Let me just see what it's called. It's about families who have autistic children, but the thing is that com they literally communicate with one another. And they have like a lot of these children like communicate, they go to this place called On the Hill, and they actually meet one another and in with their minds, and they talk to one another.
so
And
it's
these
already
are,
happening.
yeah, it's already happening. So it's these I have to find this podcast, but I'll send it to you.
This is
I'd like
very
to like bring it
interesting.
up right now so that you'll have it on this podcast. Fascinating.
I'm already very
Fascinating.
interested. I'm like, ooh, because also I'm like, these are going to be receptive kids. I guarantee, like, are they inner vision kids? Are they feeling kids? Like, what's their cognition?
Right.
I got so many
Right.
questions for people all the time.
My daughter actually has cognition. What's it called? What comes? It's feelings is the last one.
Feelings. Touch
Yeah.
is the last one.
Touch. Touch cognition. Have to find it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is the furniture all close together in her house? Like is she in a tight living space?
Oh my God, is she ever? Oh my God, is she ever? And she like collects things, and it's just, and we can barely move around, and they throw things on the floor, and they don't, I don't know, I haven't looked at his variables, but hers, oh my God, everything's just all over the place.
You're like, I'm so happy to have my piece back and all my furniture spaced out and all my second lines do not like their things being moved around. So I
Do not
imagine
touch
that's
my
very
stuff.
challenging.
I had dinner with a guy the other day. He came over, um, potential friend, and so I think I made something. I don't remember what I made. Don't like cooking, but that moment I had a moment of like, okay, I'll cook something. And then he came in, he's like, ah, hi, hi, hi. And he's like, okay, I really like it when the lights are dimmed. And then he took this candlestick holder that had been in one place where it's always there and I never move it. And he moved it and he put it on the table and he started lighting the candles. And I just thought of what you said. It's like twos don't like anybody messing with their shit.
They don't like anything being moved. Like, do you even have, well, actually, that's a different question. I say, do you even have Christmas decorations? But that's presumptuous that you celebrate Christmas.
Well, we do have Christmas here. We
Okay.
do have Christmas in Israel, but it's not the main holiday. The main holiday for us is for the Jews who celebrate, it's Hanukkah, which is
Okay.
actually coinciding this year exactly with Christmas, so it's nice. But there are Christians that live in Israel as well as Muslims. So the Christians do, they have
Like, as far as I'm concerned, Christmas is just Hallmark these days. I mean, that's probably the most offensive thing I'm going to say on my podcast all day. But I mean, for me, I'm like the snow, the tree, the eggnog. Like my Christmas is so
um,
Canadian, I guess. Like it's outdoorsy, very. But my question was about your decorations. I'm like, I mean, for any holiday, do you bring in decorations or are you like, we don't need those?
um, no, it's not the same as like Christians celebrating Christmas or decorating a tree or Easter, and it's not the same. I mean, I know that from having lived abroad, so no, it's not the same at all.
But as a two, like, does it bother you to bring that stuff into the house?
In
Like,
the house?
yeah. Like, do you
Yeah.
not want extra? The reason I'm asking is because I went into a second line's house and I started decorating for Christmas one time and they were like, put it all away. And I was like, what? You Grinch, but that's the depth of the second line quality. They were like, no Christmas lights, no whatever. The compromise was I was allowed to buy one poinsettia for the house.
I, I suppose, if I knew it was going to come down and it was there temporarily. Yeah. That's not just a two thing to
I'll
say.
tolerate this, but is it take it with you when you go?
And it has to be in a very specific place. Like, don't forget about outer vision. So it has to be a very specific place. So it's very nice for me to sit on my mountaintop and look at it.
Did the person changing the lights and the candlestick, did it change if you wanted to spend time with them?
Absolutely.
You don't want to see
Did
them
not
anymore.
want to. Did not want to. Right on.
That
It was
stuff's
like,
amazing.
isn't it? I was like, okay, I don't think I'm going to have you back in my home again. But I didn't say it to him like that. I was like, I just could sense how it felt in my body. That's it. I was
Mhm.
just, all this human design stuff. It's really, it really is embodying and being connected to the sensations in our body. So all of a sudden, I was just like really aware of how uncomfortable it made me.
No
It,
harmony in this household.
no, no, no. What is he? He's a projector. Of course, I had to find out what his chart is. When he's a projector, splenic projector, I think. Yeah. Yeah, I don't
Okay, this
remember.
is even more fascinating to me then, because one of the questions that I had banked for you was when you're in relationship with people, and it doesn't have to be romantic, just honestly, even like in aura, you could be shopping with a friend or whatever. But when you're with other people, do you notice that they're like extra controlling? Like, I want to know about people amplifying the money line. In your presence, are people like unnecessarily controlling? Because I get called a control freak all the time by my manifestor who also has the money line. And I'm like, am I amplifying this right now? Like,
If people are amplifying my money line when they're around me, so that means that I become more controlling or that they
they
become more
become more
controlling.
controlling,
Oh,
especially of you.
uh, oh, God, my mother for sure. No, my mother only has half of the money line. She's got the 21. I got 2145, right?
Yeah, yeah.
My mother, all, and then I've got the manifestor aura. My mother's a manifesting generator. She's got two manifestors, me and my sister. Wow, we
Oh,
took her for a ride. Yeah, my sister took her for a ride. Oh my God, which my sister did to my mother. But no, we're older now, so I think we've all calmed down. But so definitely, my mother still likes to try and control things, especially when it comes to money. Oh my God, especially when it comes to money.
you are giving me gold right now because my manifestor, the number one person he would complain about is his mom about money. And like, she never listens to my podcast, so I'm not too upset about this. But like, he'll go to her house and he's not even in the door before she's like at the door asking questions about like money things, work things, financial things, plans, all kinds. Like, it's almost like the assault of questions. And she's figured out because he doesn't answer them that she can corner me and ask me, and I'm just like I just usually am like, so have you been on any dates, to try and like make it awkward back and like deflect, I guess. But um this is very, very validating. I'm definitely going to make the manifestor can't make the manifestor do fuck all. I'll tell the manifestor it would be a good idea to listen to this. And he'll be like, control freak.
And what's funny is about that is about the manifestors. My mother will still say things like she'll send me articles or things for me to read, newspaper clippings. Well, clippings not anymore. They sent through the email, and she's like, and listen or watch or read. And I'm like, I cringe when I hear her saying, do this, do that. Because that's all she's done all my life. She doesn't even
Yeah.
realize it. And I cringe. But now because I understand why it's not right for me and also why she does it. So I'm like, all right, just chill, Jennifer. Let it go. Breathe. She doesn't know any better.
I'm trying to suss out like what's the difference between my like the conditioning I was raised with that makes me controlling or hyper vigilant for things that could go wrong. Maybe let's call it that. Um, my mom was just here with my stepdad for a couple days. Me and my mom, we are like it's like we're either best friends or hate each other. Like it's very we wear each other out very quickly and then we both get snappy and bitchy. It's lots of fun, lots of fun. It's too much fun. We're tired, we're snappy and bitchy. It's kind of like that. And just being alone with my mom a couple of times, it made me realize there's a lot of stuff that I do in my relationship where my control's coming from that is a level of conditioning. And when I recognize that, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that at all. I can let that go. That's not. But then there's the question of like, I do have questions about am I amplifying the money line? Is there an extra like push? Why do I feel the need to direct the manifester? That's my own question for me. Like, why do I even feel the need? Like words come out of my mouth and I haven't even thought about them. And then he's looking at me like, and I'm like, I didn't even know I said that. I didn't mean to say that. Like, there'll be little things like, oh, there's a parking spot. And he's like, yeah, where'd you think I was going?
It's so irritating for a manifestor to hear that. My daughter does that to me all the time when I'm in the car. I'm the one who drives because she doesn't drive. And then she's like, Ima in Hebrew is mommy. She's like, Ima, go here, go there, park here, park there. And I'm like, Shani, that's her name. I'm like, you can't say that to me. Just
I'm
don't,
gonna get mad at you.
yeah, just Shani, please be quiet. Don't say that. It drives me crazy. And so she's learning. But yeah, okay, so there you have it. Also, when she's with me and she has, I think her, I think her ego is completely open and like not a zip there, right? And so yeah, so she does get she does get controlling about things when she's around me. Huh.
There are things that I don't even like. It's so hard for me to wrap my head around how something is a certain way. Like, I really need people to give me different perspectives on things because, like, we dropped my son off at school together this morning and I hit the unlock button as we were pulling into the parking lot so that it was prepped for Maven to get out faster. And right as he came to a stop, he hit the unlock button. And I looked at him and I was like, I already pressed it. And he goes, because you're a control freak.
Because it's the competition.
And I'm sitting there like, if I didn't unlock the button, I'm waiting for my parent to reprimand me for being lazy, for not helping what's going on, for not being aware, for not being prepared, for not. I'm expecting someone to be mad at me that I didn't contribute, that I didn't participate, that I just sat there thinking someone would drive me and my kid around, or like I could think of so many negative things. And it's that I don't want to deal with. So I hit the thing and I fucked up because I'm a projector who doesn't need to put that much energy into things. And I have a manifestor who's trying to put his energy into things. And I'm just like chopping him off at the knees sometimes.
It's all about awareness, right? And it's paying attention to those things and making that mental note about, all right, next time I won't do that.
It's it's been very eye-opening for me to learn that people see support in a lot of different ways,
Mm.
like a lot of different ways. And for me to actually accept the kind of support that I need, like I have a very hard time accepting that because he shows up with very like physical ways of support. Like he makes the food, he's cleaning the house, he's shoveling the snow, he's dropping like lots of physical support is showing up. And I think that I'm supposed to also give that back to him, but my support is, well, number one, financial, and two, peace. And a lot of that peace is acquired through my financials. But what he needs for support is honestly just for me to fucking leave him alone. Like he kind of needs the opposite thing that I need for support. That's weird because I'm so used to like, if I need this, then we assume that other people need what we need. And that's one of the nicer things about human design is that it corrects that so fast. Like what is good for me is not good for other people.
True. Absolutely. Oh. Hmm.
This is a total segue. But
Mhm. Ask.
I want you to read audiobooks. I'm like, I don't know how to make that happen, but like when I hear your voice, it's very you don't sound the same as her, but you make me feel the same way. Do you know who Clarissa Pinkola Estes is? The woman who
No,
wrote
no, no.
oh, she's incredible. She'd be an older lady now. And maybe Mexican. I don't know. But she does her background would be like anthropology, sociology, lots of cultural studies. And
Mhm.
she has a book called Women Who Run with the Wolves. And it's about
I think I have that book.
it's an
Okay.
amazing book. And she narrates most of her own work. So if you download her audiobook, it's read by her.
Okay.
And she does a little bit of like voice acting when she'll tell you like a fairy tale. So she'll do a little bit of like character stuff, but not in a theatrical way. Just she changes something about her voice so that you know it's a different character.
Yeah.
But I love listen like she's one of the most incredible women for women to listen to. And it's not like feminist. I don't know how to say that. It's like women's like narratives and stories of women's roles throughout history and like there's like Russian stories about the woman who falls in love with the bear and another one about a fisherman who catches a woman in his net and like but everything gives me shivers kind of constantly when she's talking about it. Everything goes to a deeper level somewhere. Like you just want to hear her say whatever story she wants to tell you. And that's what your voice is like. That's why I asked you to be on the podcast. I had no topic of interest. I just wanted
Mhm.
to have your
Oh,
voice outside of the class setting.
huh. Well, thank you for that. Um, hmm. I will have to go and listen to her.
I'm like, you if Audible is hiring, I mean,
I
you're
would
a
love to
manifestor,
do
tell them to
something
hire
like
you. But
that. Well, if you know anybody there, and I would love to do something like that. That would be that'd be amazing. Maybe that's the key to, we spoke about this earlier about you know, that being so tired and what do I want? How do I want to make a change in my life? And how can I move with my manifestor urge? And I can't do it if I'm so in this constant physical irritation or pain or achiness. And I know that the urge is there all the time, but I'm too tired to follow through with them. And I think one of the ways to be able to calm down my system is to have a way to be able to make money so that I don't need to constantly be in physical contact with people. Because right now, that's how my work is.
yeah.
I'm either with the clients and I'm physically touching them, or I'm with these little kids. And I love them all. There's no. I mean, I really do. I love them all and I love what I do, but it's tiring and I need a break and I need to find another way so that I can maybe even leave here for a period of time and go away so that I can recalibrate myself. And I need to find a way to be able to do that and to support myself. So
I'm just
I
trying to
know.
think of like what high elevation places feel like you'd actually enjoy being there. Like what are peaceful? I mean like Tibet definitely comes to mind, but I'm like, what are peaceful, high elevation places? Where would you actually want to go if you could just go anywhere?
Where would I want to go if I could just go anywhere? Yeah, somewhere peaceful, that's for sure. I do like the heat. I have to say, I've been here for so long that cold kind of doesn't do me very good.
Mm.
Although, who knows, when you go to really cold places, everything's nicely heated. And I mean, look, you're wearing a
Tank
tank
top in the
top.
winter. I got fireplaces in here.
Winter. So, I don't know. Where would I like to go? Yeah, mountain sounds really nice right now, but mountain in the summer, not mountain in the winter where everything's all white and snowy. That kind of like freaks me out. I need more color in front of my eyes, a little more variety.
Outer vision.
Outer vision, yeah.
Okay,
Which is
what's
really funny because my home is colorful, but I wear muted colors most of the time.
you don't like to be distracted by yourself?
I don't know. I don't look at myself all the time. I don't see myself, but I just, I really love gray and white and gray and white and gray and white. And my best friend is like, "Oh, so you bought a sweater. Let me guess what color it was."
Gray.
Yeah, a different shade, but it was gray. Um, right. But my home is colorful. So yeah, I do need some kind of color.
What
Mountain.
don't you want in the environment?
Don't I want in the environment? Noise. Do not want noise. I live in an area that's noisy. I hear fire engines, police cars, ambulances, because I'm right next to a hospital. And thank God for hospitals, but fuck, I can't stand the ambulances. I hear it all the time, and it wakes me up.
I got a variable question for you then, because a lot of what you're saying, I'm like, oh, I wonder how much of this is consecutive with the active brain. Like I'm so distracted by noise, like so distracted by noise. And we're one thing at a time. So it's not the visual focus, but it is a kind of focus of like it can only handle one core thing to be consuming or taking in or whatever at any point, and audio is definitely one of the things that we're taking in. I find um if there's ever two audio streams happening at once, like TV's on and someone talks to me, or multiple, like I don't hear them. And not only that, like it makes me angry. So I'm
Mhm.
like, one, what does that feel like for you? And two, is this validating at all? Because the rest of you is all right. So there is more of a like,
Low. Mm.
yeah, I don't know, you're more open to
Okay.
things.
Right. Right. Yeah, I have less. No, absolutely. Going back to what you said about being the left brain, absolutely. I can't have a lot of different audio stimulation around me. I cannot. And also because I have the individual channel, the 6124. So I'm constantly looping with thoughts, constantly, constantly, constantly. And then I've got the 43 and missing the 23. So, um, so I need quiet because there's already so much going on in my head.
That being
Uh,
said, I'm like, what would be the reverse of that? Does that mean that there are people out there who are surrounded by noise because they hate the sound of being in their own head?
hmm,
Like the people that don't like having the channel of awareness probably aren't like can't not can you turn it off, but like, I mean, this is how we numb out or cope or whatever for certain things. So I wonder what some people are getting into so that they don't have to be in their heads or try and avoid being in their heads.
my daughter has a receptive brain. So I also see it in how she eats. Like we're so different when it comes to eating.
Like she's a
Oh
casual grazer and you need to be fed routinely.
God, do I have to be fed routinely? It's terrible.
I feel you.
My whole life is around how I eat, and it really is. And sometimes it just makes me so crazy. But then I also realize when I don't follow it, that's it. I mean, and my blood sugar goes down, I get cranky, I get irritated, I'm tired. And my daughter, but about the noise, and she has a lot of noise around her all the time, all the time. But it's not loud noise, just it's there. Television is on. Um, she also works in a shopping mall, so there's constant
Activity, always
activity
activity.
going on there. But it's still the receptive brain, so yeah, receptive. So so it's like numbed down, dimmed down. Plus, she's got an open head and ajna, so that kind of all just sort of meets one. They flow together, right? All of these aspects.
It's so cool, like describing well, it's maybe this is a bit of a taste cognition thing, but like we're describing people's charts almost like putting together a recipe. Like I'm describing a food, right? Like I don't even know how to say it. We're talking about almost like the different complexities of people and the top notes and the roundness and this. I'm just, like I can really see somebody come to life in my mind based on their mechanics. I'm pretty sure that if I met your daughter, I'd know who I was meeting based on what we've talked about.
Interesting. Huh.
Something comes up about your innocence motivation because I like talking to other people who have this, but most of us who have it don't do a very good job of having it. It's not it's not an easy one to have. Like what does yours feel like?
Well, I haven't really, first of all, I haven't really studied that part so much about my design, so still waiting to get to that in your class. I haven't studied
Sometime in
that yet.
January. Okay,
Yeah.
let me reverse it. If you transfer and you go into desire,
Oh, yeah, right.
can you feel the
Definitely.
switch?
Definitely. Definitely. And I also know that when I go into desire, things don't work for me. They
I
don't
become
because
crazy controlling in my desire state.
I get controlling, but even more so, it exhausts me. Completely exhausts me.
Like you're running
It,
up a hill.
yeah, it's like gotta have this, gotta have this, gotta have this, gotta do this, and then I'm like, and then undoubtedly something happens where I'm just like, okay, I spend a day in bed because I can't move because I'm too exhausted.
Transference is so tiring. Like so tiring. And it's almost it's like a little evil twin settles into me for a second and like I don't even know I've been hijacked by this person, you know? Like it takes a
That's
minute to
that's all
realize that's
Mr.
what's happening.
Hyde.
Totally. And
So when my innocence, so this is interesting. So now I now if you reversed it the way you asked it, that was a good way to sort of bring up then the innocence, and so I could explain to you how it feels with me. At least I can give you an example of how the innocence worked um, for me. When I went into when I started writing music, and it all just suddenly happened so innocently. Really, if I could, it was just one day I was like, okay, I think I'll just like pick up the guitar and teach myself some chords. That's all I did. And out of that came some music. And then I heard about a course that was being given by a singer, songwriter, producer here in Israel. And I was like, all right, I'll just try that. Gonna go see. No pressure. I went. And then all this great stuff started coming out. And then afterwards it was like, all right. He said, well, I produce music. I was like, okay, how about producing mine? And then it just sort of like it flowed. And as long as I was there in that space of, I guess, the innocence of it all, it worked. And then the minute I started to make plans, now I've got to market this in a certain way and it has to go out this way and I have to be consistent this way and I need to like make sure my voice is always good and I can sing this note and I can do that and da 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 and I want to plan, right, me strategic mind, no, and I want to be able to start performing and da da da, all went to shit. This doesn't work like that. So I'm surrendering.
Mhm. Do you have a hard time leaning into innocence because it feels like you're avoiding responsibility or you're going to get in trouble for avoiding responsibility?
I don't know if it's so much that. I think it's more about feeling, and this isn't really, it's not about the desire or the transference, but I feel like almost guilty, like I'm not doing enough to make something happen. Is that,
Yeah, like I'm being weirdly lazy
yeah, well, sort of like,
or like I'm not moved by the priorities that the world thinks I should. That's the bigger problem.
or the way that it should be done in order to get there,
Yep.
right?
Innocence is highly individual. Like it's highly individual in terms of like it's not actually a circuitry, but it has the same qualities of individual, mutative, acoustic, non-interference. Like we're very much meant to go our own way and do our own thing. And part of what I notice is who tries to stop that in me? Like, who do I have a hard time being innocent around? Who is criticizing my innocence? Who's projecting onto it? Who's judging it? The trickiest one here is my mom's the biggest answer. My mom is also innocence motivation, which tells me that she can't accept that quality in herself. So she can't let me accept it in me either. Because innocence is very much like I go my own way. And my mom's a chronic people pleaser. So it's very hard for her to understand that. So when I do things that are innocent, she mocks me. She always mocks me. When I play with my little Tamagotchi thing or whatever, the people that I know are for me in my life, they either don't notice, don't care, or they think it's cute. They're like, oh, there's Sam with their little stupid pet. I brought out my Tamagotchi when my mom was here. Doesn't matter that my mom will sit and be on her phone for like 2 hours having coffee in the morning or whatever. I looked down so I project her attention, and it was nothing but, oh, Sam's on such a little Japanese cake. Oh, my little Japanese girl. Oh, Sam's into her Tamagotchi. Oh, she's a 5-year old. Oh, she's such a little nerd. Oh, she's looking at her thing again. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like it's so, I don't even know what to say. I just kind of like look at her and then kind of go back down because I'm like, I don't even know how to engage with this, right? Like you're my mom. Like if Maven sits beside you and pulls out a video game, you're like, what are you playing? So like, are you only mean to me because I'm like you, like little you? Like, are you mad at you? So you're mad at me? I'm not quite sure what's happening here. You don't want me to be in my innocence. You can't be in your innocence, so I can't be in my innocence. Like, what's happening here? And what's really fascinating is my partner has desire. And my partner is so good about letting me be in my innocence.
Hmm. Hmm. That's hurtful.
Yeah.
Yes, it's hurtful.
Definitely made me appreciate my partner a lot more over the last few days. I was like, man, even when you're like an abrasive manifester to me, when you're informing me of the things I don't want to hear, his intention is so different. That's what's so different about it. The intention behind why he's saying what he's saying. It feels so different. Like his point in calling me out for anything ever is always like to bring me back to a place of balance.
For
um
you. Hmm.
yeah, like he only wants me to be me, and from his perspective it's like we're both still trying to figure out who that is. So he's provoking me to get to the spirit of me over and over and over and over and over, and I need it. But shit, like I like that so much better than,
Sure. 'Cause it's not something that, it's not doing that to hurt you or to belittle you or degrade you. You know, he's doing these things for you and your personal growth and your development. I mean, that's really what we want to have in our lives, right? Somebody who's willing to be that vulnerable and take those risks. I'm glad you've got him.
yeah, me too. I had to go back and get him a couple times though, because I definitely fucked this up regularly. I'm a third line, and I'm spicy. I don't quite know what else to call that. Like I'm very spicy and I'm splenic. I'm very quick to all of my stuff, and that can be very intense for someone who's emotional. I definitely like I need this dude. I don't know what else to say it, but like I need this dude. So I gotta keep doing what I gotta do to keep him around. Oh shit. We're at our time.
We are? Wow, that was fast and fun.
It was fun.
It was incredible.
I like that you're so open with me.
Oh, really, it was a pleasure. Thank you for having me, really. And it was
I just gotta say, you know your dates very well. That's like the last thing I wrote down that I didn't say throughout this because there just wasn't really like a place to randomly say that, but I want to say it before you go. But you're really good with dates. Like from this age to this age, from this year to this year, from this month to this month, I'm like, I don't know what date is today. Like I seriously, I'm like, I had to ask Maven what his birthday was the other day. I felt so bad. I'm like, are you the 24th or the 25th? Oh my God, what's your crap? Like I'm horrible with these. And I was just amazed that you were spitting out so many dates, like you were reading them off a list.
well, well, it's probably because I've had to tell that story so many times in my life, but those dates have just stuck with me.
That's fair. That's fair, actually.
You know, because
Oh,
don't ask me to do 2 + 2. It doesn't always come out to being 4.
now, other than your YouTube, which is Jennifer Warren Transit, if anyone's going to look that up, where else do you want people to find you?
Um, wow. Well, I think that's a good place to start. That's a good place to start.
Maybe you could find her on Instagram if you're smart.
Yeah, that's a good place to start.
Well, that sounds good. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. It was delicious.
Oh, I like that. Tasty word. Bye,
It was
Jennifer.
tasty.